Climate change. Now, when you hear that word, you probably think of it as taboo because it has been very polarized by politics. But it doesn't have to be that way, and actually it should be the opposite because this is an important issue no matter how you break it down. Because, I mean, the climate, it's everything. I mean, you wouldn't want to live somewhere where it's just like tornadoes and drought and like the worst, most inhospitable place ever. You wouldn't want to live there. So climate is very important. Now, measuring climate is something that we're trying to figure out. Now, how will that climate be in 50 years, 20 years, 100 years, right now, etc. And there's been a lot of buzz in the media, especially nowadays, because the heat dome going on in the lower I think the lower latitudes. It's going on in the U.S. South, but it's also going on in southern Europe too, and I believe even China. And yeah, it's pretty hot. Actually, so hot in fact that it has broken numerous records. Like just I believe a couple days ago, Arizona broke its streak for 110 days, and they had like, what are they on their 20th 110 day as of this recording, and their record before that was like 19. But imagine that, 20 days, 110 degrees or more. I mean, that is just crazy. I mean, how could you live? I'm from Minnesota, so like the winters here gets into the negative, so that's just a crazy thing for me to comprehend. 110 for 20 days. So this is a very important thing, and when you see temperatures like that, it's scary because it's not just Arizona, it's Texas, it's Greece, Italy, it's Beijing. I believe even in Central Asia, you're having temps of 100, 105, 110, sometimes 115 plus. And even in Death Valley, I'm pretty sure it just broke 128. These temperatures are blazing, and more than just blazing, they're dangerous. Very dangerous, actually, for prolonged, if you're out there prolonging them. And I know humidity, if there's humidity, the more humidity, the worse it gets. And yeah, so I think it's very important we cover this because there's a lot of buzz going around. A lot of people are freaking out, and a lot of people are just scapegoating on human-made climate change. Because first off, we gotta get something out of the way. Climate change is a thing that's always happening. It's happened since the beginning of Earth when we're just like one huge volcano. Because that's what the Earth was 4 billion years ago, or at least that's the theory. But now we're in a pretty livable place, even though there's less livable places on this earth. Overall, it's pretty livable. But human-made climate change is different than just climate change. Now, people, especially the media, are blaming this on human-made climate change, and I personally think this is scary because, for myself, I do believe that human-made climate change is a part of this equation. You can look at charts and you can see a gradual increase in the global temperature from the 1800s, the early 1900s, mid 1900s. If you look at the charts here, I'll put up a chart right now. If you look at that, especially in the last 50 years, you can see a decent increase. Now, the increase, mind you, in the last 50 years, I think it's like 0.5 Celsius, which isn't a crazy amount. But it's enough to do a little bit at least, right? And it's enough to, cause more extreme weather and other factors like that. But what's going on right now, it's not like that's never happened before. And here's what I mean by that. Did you know that the hottest temperature in the world, even though it has been very, very hot these last 5, 10, 15 years, hasn't been broken since 1913 in Death Valley, California? That was the hottest temperature ever officially recorded. Now, there's some unofficial sources, but again, it's unofficial, you can't verify. And that temperature was 134 degrees Fahrenheit, which is crazy. But also, it's crazy, it hasn't been broken in over 100 years. It's been 110 years and it still hasn't been broken. Another thing, for Arizona, even though it just broke that record of longest streak of 110 days, its hottest temperature hasn't been broken for 29 years, and that was 128 degrees. Same with Texas. Especially in June, that heat dome was all over, but that record hasn't been broken in 29 years as well, and that was 120 degrees. Now, to be fair, it got to 119 in Texas, which is still, wow, that's super hot. But what I'm trying to say, and what I'm trying to get here at, is that these temperatures may be a little abnormal, but it's not so abnormal to the point where just these records are just getting broken and broken. Some of the records are, right? But not the most significant ones. Like, for example, I'll cite the one in Arizona just because it's all over the place. The 20-day streak, that's crazy. And that is a crazy record, right? But it's not like Arizona, especially Phoenix, is setting this new highest record just like every couple of years. It's just not happening. It's not that rapid. It is rapid if you look at it in the lens of centuries, but it's not super duper rapid. So it just makes me think, right? Because me personally, I'm a little scared of the government overreach on this, right? Because if climate change is an issue, right? But it's not so big of an issue that we should just, go all out on this, then we shouldn't go all out on this. You know what I mean? Because here's the thing, right? Even if we somehow stopped all these fossil fuel emissions and other factors, right? Well, first off, we couldn't because developing nations need them, and it would be unfair of us to just make them ban them because then they can't get industrialized like we did, right? But let's just say we did, right? I believe I heard somewhere. Actually, no, I didn't hear somewhere. I just read an article. What do I mean? But I read an article where it would still take like 50 to 100 years for those effects to dissipate because it would still take a long time because those greenhouse gases will be in there for a while. So it's not just going to be like a day and night thing. Stopping it won't proceed to immediate help, but it'll be maybe centuries. So that's one thing. That's the second thing, though. A lot of these nations need them because, we are in a place of such rapid technological innovation, but it wouldn't have been possible without the Industrial Revolution, and that's when we started really polluting the planet. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think polluting the planet is a good thing at all. It's a horrible thing. I mean, you're ruining environments, you're causing global emissions. It's bad, right? But you have to see what that bad's for. It's not always necessarily for a bad purpose, because the cars you guys drive, that was made with emissions. The gas you pump in it, that's emissions right there. To warm up your house, that's emissions. So we can't just get rid of them. And the best way, I believe, is just a gradual dissipation of them in the free market, personally. But I think that this topic is a really good discussion because, like I said, starting this video, this should not be a political discussion, or it shouldn't be as politicized as it is, at the very least, because this is important, right? But if we can have general discourse and education, and I'm no expert, I'm pretty ignorant in this. I have been reading some articles, some other stuff, looking at some data, and I'm coming to my own conclusions. But, I would love for a discussion to happen in the comments section with people that are smarter than me or people that have a different perspective. I would love to visit all these perspectives and facts and logical statements, and hopefully that happens in the comment section. Because, like I said, it's a very important topic. But I guess that brings me into another point, right? So now this summer of 2023, this will undoubtedly, there's almost zero chance that this doesn't go down as the hottest summer in recorded history, which I think records go back to like the 1800s somewhere. So the last 150 to 200 years. It's no doubtly going to do that in my eyes. June is hottest June ever recorded. I believe this is going to be the hottest July ever recorded. July 3rd, was it? July 4th? I think July 4th weekend, those were the hottest days in recorded human history, which again was like 150 years. But still, that's crazy. But the thing is, right, even if this breaks that record, it's no time for panic. Because if it does, it's not going to do it by like 10 or 15 degrees. It's going to do it by like half a degree, right? Let me give you an example. Did you know that the hottest summer in the USA wasn't broken for 85 years? Because summer 2021 was the hottest now on record, but the second and what was the hottest summer on record was summer of 1936, which was 85 years ago. And it's just crazy because even though the world is heating up, and again, there is data to back that up. You can see it in a graph. It is on average heating up. like it's not like these events never happen. It's not like these heat waves never happen. And maybe they're getting a little more intense, but there have been some horrible heat waves in the past, like really strong, comparable to the one going on right now in the U.S. South, for sure. And the sea level is gonna. Okay, that's another thing. Yeah, the sea level, that's gonna rise too, and rise not a crazy amount again, right? But it is gonna rise to a decent amount, and that is a problem for island nations, especially because in the developed world, at least, we have ways around that, like putting up dams and locks and other methods to protect the coast, which we've already been placing for many years. But if you're an island nation or if you're an underdeveloped nation, you can't really do that. So that is an issue, and I think if we have more discourse on this topic instead of just having this name calling and arguments and getting nowhere, then we can actually find solutions to these problems. So that's why I think this is a very important discussion. I'll end up the video saying this. Yes, many heat records still haven't been broken for a while. I'll say that. But many have, and it's no doubt that this is gonna be a hotter and hotter world on average. Now, to what extent? I don't know. How much have humans played in that? I really don't know. At least a little bit. But other than that, could be a lot more than I think. Could be almost none. I really don't know. But the world is going to warm up, and the predictions say it's going to warm up a decent amount more in the next 100 years. They make it out to be a lot, like 3 or 4 degrees, but I don't believe that. I think it's going to go up, not to that degree. And you have to remember, right? It's really hot right now, right? It's probably going to be really hot for the next couple of years, but maybe in the next decade or two, it might cool off for a bit, and then it'll heat up again, because that's how these climate cycles work. Here, I'll pull up a chart right now. You can see that after the 1940s, there was a cooling period in the 50s on into the 60s, and then it really started to take off. But you can see these patterns, and that's probably going to continue, because that's just how the climate goes. So, I hope this is a very informative video. I really just want to give my opinion on this, and that's really because I think this is such an important discussion, and we need to have it, and it shouldn't be super politicized, and we should have discourse, because there are problems with it, and I just think that we could find solutions more easily if we were just arguing with each other, Maybe instead of have humans, contributed a lot to climate change, why don't just, okay, we know the Earth's getting at least a little hotter, right? How do we prepare for this, Because we don't have to blame a group or anything. We don't have to put the full blame on that, right? We know we should go more clean, right? Like, everyone knows that. I think most people agree to go more clean. Maybe they disagree in what amount of time or if it should be forced, but everyone wants a clean, orderly, and nicely kept world. I mean, would you want your community to be filled with trash? Probably not. So we can all agree on that. So let's focus on the important stuff. Let's try to keep, the huge politics out of it, because, this is important to everybody. So let's have a discussion. If I missed anything in the video, please put in the comment section below. Again, like I said earlier, I'm pretty ignorant to a degree. There's probably smarter people. There's different perspectives. Maybe there's something that I could tell you that would make you think. And let's just have a discourse in the comment section. So for anyone that has stuck around this long, thank you for listening. And I hope some sort of value you get out of this video. And furthermore, I hope the comment section will be, a beacon of knowledge and perspectives and discourse and learning. That's the biggest thing, learning. Because if learning is a beautiful thing if done right. So thank you guys, and see you around.